Welcome back, everybody. How we doing? Hello, hello. Okay, there you go. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Big Money Mini book reading book club. Sorry, this is chapter two. Bedro Koulian's Man Up, and we've already got a couple days in of reading his this material, and just the introduction alone was very powerful. And I just want to make sure the sound is going to come in clear here. We are messing with a lot of new equipment here, so uh, just excited to be sharing with you all. Bedro Koulian, if you haven't known, he is a business mogul, just known for his known for many things, but one of the big things is his his fitness business. Fitness business. So if this is something that's something that is of interest to you, definitely I would recommend checking him out. He's based out here in Los Angeles, where I come from, and all right. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure the sound is coming in clear. Hope you guys are doing well. It is Thursday, the 27th, and what can I say about this guy? He's covered so much so far in his first couple chapters. I'm really excited to be going through this stuff. I can relate to him on many levels, and he really has got me started off on a couple of things that, well, things that I put off for a long time. As far as getting healthy, getting myself in shape and all that stuff. Just a lot of people that are, Samoan don't care to. Well, I don't say they don't care. They don't. You can see it very much as there's an issue. We're just known to be heavy people. He covers a lot here as far as fitness, but mainly getting into his business. What drove him to be who he is today. I'm really inspired, not just by the fitness level, but I'm not so much that. I mean, it did help me to put that in get that in order. But his mindset, as far as coming to this country and starting something different, from his culture. He said he could have been he could have been a couple things. He could have landed in a few different professions he listed. But my first interview that really helped me to pay attention to Bedros, or it really, rather introduced me to Bedros, was an interview we watched at our office, and just his words, everything about him, his mentality, really did speak a lot to me. Really did catch my attention. My wife as well. I love what he stands for. I love what he represents, and I think it's pretty awesome. So this is him right here, Bedros Koulian, and he's an Armenian fellow who came here to the United States with his family, and this is the title of our book. All right, so Man Up. It really does. It's really similar to my family, how we came here. The difference is us being born here, but he shares about how his dad came here to create a better life for him. And if you're a Samoan American, you can appreciate that because either you came here as a young kid, your family brought you here, or you came here, or your parents came here, and you're the first generation to be born here. My parents came here from Samoa as single individuals, got married. They met each other, got married out here, and had those kids. And so now here we are. But yeah, man, this guy right here in his channel, follow him. He's on Instagram. He's on YouTube. He puts videos out there. Every few days, I guess, to really make an impact, especially on men. I mean, it's for women too, but especially the men, because this guy is really hardcore. He's a tough gentleman, and he really does, lay the foundation of as what a man should be. And there's, I already know on that subject. I got some words to share about that too, which I'm going to be on my channel. There's a lot of people that would say, they kind of shy away from that conversation. I've had a few people hit me up when I started really being more present on social media. There's a lot of guys who hit me up and just, they're like, "Oh, you're one of those guys, the alpha versus beta type guy. I see how you are." And that just sounds. I mean, if you don't realize that you sound so much like a beta when you bring up that kind of conversation, it's not to put people down. It's really to highlight where people are as far as their thinking, as far as just the way they choose to be. There's men aren't what they used to be anymore. It's just, it is what it is. So what he does is he teaches people to toughen up, and really take responsibility for yourself, for your actions, take responsibility for your business, for your family, for whatever organization you decide to lead. He teaches people that they really to step up their game and be that leader, or be that man that we need as a strong person to be a leader, right? And so there's a lot of people that are in the leader position, that haven't really taken up to that mantle. They just don't have what it takes, unfortunately. But he talks a lot about what a good leader is, what a bad leader is, and I'm happy to be going over that chapter 2 today. And I love his titles of his chapters. It just shows who he is. He said it on one time during an interview. He's FOF, fresh out of flux. So this is the kind of person that if you can't handle the F word, the F bomb, if you can't handle foul language, if you can't handle somebody being straight up with you and, to care about you so much that he's going to try to get your attention, and he doesn't care what kind of words he's going to use. I mean, that's the kind of gentleman he is. And so if you can't handle that, it's probably not the book for you. All right, but like and subscribe our channel. We're trying to do something different here. We're trying to get people to start reading again. Make America read again. There's a lot of people don't read. They haven't read since high school. They haven't read since college, and that's a shame. I'm one of them. I haven't, completed too many books since that time. But why is that? Because we would rather do the quick and easy, which is turn on the television and have them read for us, have them put thoughts and ideas in our minds. But getting back to reading, I mean, it's an awesome thing. Like Ben Schooling, I don't know him personally, but it's kind of cool that I can just pick up his book and tap into his mind and and get what he would figure out my situations and question the things I go through and apply his knowledge, right? And so if you're going to live this life, why not take somebody's information, their perspective, and use that towards and apply it towards your own personal situations? Why not? We do it all the time with the Bible. Isn't that what the Bible is? It's put there to share experiences that people went through so that you can make better decisions yourself in your personal life, right? It's an awesome thing. So our channel here is the Big Many channel. We are on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and we are just excited to have you guys here with us. Like, share, subscribe, and let's get this channel built. Today I was listening to some people I've been following, and they're just getting their channel started. And so I gotta switch up something real quick, guys. Apologize. See if we can fix this sound. In the meantime, just if you haven't gotten the book, I would suggest picking up the book. The book is free. You just go to Pedro Schoolie, look up his website, and you'll be able to download the audio as well as the ebook. All right, and so I haven't downloaded the audio. I'm reading for myself. I decided to do that so that I can highlight, take notes, and things like that, and that way I can prepare for you. As you'll see, the little pop-ups here that we put in our channel, so that we can highlight things that I feel either we should take a minute to cover, or things that reminded me of something, and I put in my little 2 cents here as we read along. And there's going to be some parts I might skip to as well. So chapter 2 is getting your shit straight. All right, getting your shit straight. Okay, now again, that's this man's word. now mine. This guy right here, he's a very successful entrepreneur. He's a Christian and all that, but he's also a man who's going to put it too straight. All right, and so let's listen in. So he says, for me, now we just covered Manning up and also his background as far as the jobs that he took before he became a business owner, before he became an entrepreneur, also the failed businesses, and he figured out one thing is that kept him going through it all was that you've got to man up. Right. So he says, for me, manning up didn't happen overnight. The process that started at a doctor's office when he had his heart attack, and it wasn't a process. It says it didn't start in his office. I'm sorry, his doctor's office. It took a long time, and it wasn't just a process of doing specific things. It says here that it was a way of changing how I thought about things. Now that's huge. Okay, again, the title, the theme here is "Man Up," and it says it was a process. It wasn't just something that started that day he had his heart attack. Right, and it says here, really manning up wasn't just what we would perceive as manning up, where we just decide like, okay, it's time to be tough. It's time to what you call it, well, pretty much just man up, take the pain, get through it. That's usually what we think about when it comes to manning up. But it says here that it was a way of changing how I thought about things. Right, so manning up is just a change of your thought process, including killing off a lot of negativity and damaging beliefs and a damaging belief system in my head that were holding me back. Now, I feel this is huge. Okay, this is huge because a lot of people don't realize that there is a lot of negativity that we have in our mind. There's a lot of negative thoughts that are processed as we go through life, as we face situation after situation. And he says that it was a damaging belief system in his head that was holding him back. A lot of us don't realize how negative we are. We just carry on, and we think about things as we choose to think about them. And, a lot of people will see you and they just, like if anybody has a relationship with you, they should know or they should be able to anticipate how you're going to react to a situation because they already know your personality. And they're going to say, oh, well, that's just David. That's how he responds. That's the way he thinks. Um, Everybody's going to respond to something a certain way and it's based on what we're going to learn about here at the beginning of the chapter, based on situations that we've gone through as children, based on situations that we've gone through, as young adults. And so I love how he starts off chapter 2 calling it getting your shit straight. And the reason why he calls it that is because this is where he identifies why he thinks the way he thinks. Again, this is a foreigner who came to the country, had it rough as a foreigner, grew up in Anaheim and Cyprus, and people were calling him a fucking foreigner, straight out saying, go back to your country. That is very discouraging. That is very discouraging, right? But it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool because, well, it's to see the for him to identify it. I mean, that's the big thing. It's okay that we think a certain way. It's okay that we react to things a certain way, but if it's bad if you cannot identify what it is that has caused you to start thinking that way, right? So I'm not saying that the way you think is bad, the way you think is wrong. A lot of people take that the wrong way. But what I'm saying, you gotta identify why you think a certain way about certain things, why you react a certain way. So there's some people that they act before they think. And they were trained up that way. There's a lot of people that, they think about the negative actions, or they think about the negative outcome as a situation is forming. The first thing they'll do is they'll think about the negative outcomes, right? Before they think about, something positive that come out of a situation, and it's nothing wrong. Again, this is just a damaging belief system as he's covered here in the book, right? So reading on, it said that negativity had childhood sources. That negativity had childhood sources. Again, that's huge. A lot of us, see if you grew up, from well, I'm not gonna say that. Let me just say however you were raised. Okay, however you were raised, It's going to affect the way you think. And whether you had one father, or I mean one parent, both parents, or whatever your situation was, it's going to affect the way you think. If you grew up poor, it's going to affect the way you think. If you grew up in a dangerous area, it's going to affect you. We're going to cover that today. That negativity had childhood sources. My family came to this country with nothing, and my dad would always say over and over again, his dad would say, quote, "We'll run out of money before we run out of the month." That became my mindset. He said life was a series of tough choices. Do we pay for the water bill or gas bill this month? Do we pay? Do we buy a car or try to find a better apartment that's not in a gang infested area? Um, do we buy or do we have a nice dinner for us, or even several years? Oh, sorry, he says a nice dinner for us, even after several years of being in the United States, was eating a sizzler. We needed a really good reason to go out and eat. There was a lot of negativity in the house because of our financial situation, right? Um, and it says my dad. Um, he says my dad didn't mean to be negative or pessimistic. Of course, it was hard for him not to be gruff when we were penny pinching that way. Reminds me a lot of my dad. My dad came here, got a job, still held on to that first job throughout his entire marriage and raising a family up to the day he died. He came in here, grew up got a place in the hood and on his own, and then got married and raised us, and we stayed pretty much in the hood until he died. He never got to experience anything outside of it besides the time that he stayed at his brother's house, which was West Covina. Um, and he, it says that or and in Carson. But he says dad didn't mean to be negative. That was my dad doesn't think the way I think as far as being positive, as far as starting a business and building on that business to make that my main source of income. He didn't understand that part. He just understood, come to America, um, get a good job, put your kids to school so they can live a better life than you did. That's all they understood. He said, my dad didn't mean to be negative or pessimistic because he was basically saying, we're going to run out of money before we run out of the month, meaning we don't have enough to cover our bills. And that became Bedros' mindset. But it says that, his dad didn't mean to be negative or pessimistic, of course, but it was hard for him not to be that way because they were always pinching pennies. There's something about growing up broke that's going to make your kids think a certain way. Hopefully they get lucky and they break out of that curse, which is definitely a curse, and it can be a generational curse if you don't break out of it. Which is part of the reason why we named our channel the Big Money Channel, because just because I grew up broke, I don't want my kids seeing that. I don't want just because we pinch pennies, I don't want my kids knowing that. Sorry about the noise, guys. Hold on a second. All right, and it says, as a kid, because of my family circumstances, I became obsessed with finding the cheapest way to do things. That's crazy. I told myself a few stories that quickly, let's see, I'm sorry. I told myself a few stories that quickly became the narrative for my life. Again, these are I'm gonna give you the 4 stories that he told himself as a kid to be the narrative of his life, which means his entire way of thinking was based on a few circumstances that he's experienced as a kid. All right. So, number one, the first story he told himself is that I am a foreigner and foreigners don't make it. That's pretty rough, accepting that as a child and having that belief system as a child, and knowing that as long as you're here in this country, you're not going to make it because you are a foreigner. That sucks. Number two, that I'd always trade my time for money. Wow. See, today's a little different. If you listen to him now, if you talk to him now about having a job as opposed to pursuing a career or a business or an idea, he'll tell you you're wasting your time. You're giving away your time at a job. All right. And so the second story was that I'd always trade my time for money. He just accepted that he's going to be at a job working for somebody else to make money. Number three, that I was a blue collar and I'd stay a blue collar. See, that's something that needs to be broken today. It's okay if you got to do one of those jobs, one or two of them. If you don't if you don't finish school, or if you decide not to pursue that route, just starting out, it's okay if you got to do a couple of jobs. So did I, right? And so sometimes we got to be in that position, but we got to we have to understand that it's a process. And then the fourth one was that I was a bad student, would always be one, and bad students don't become successful. All right. So again, all of these are negative outlooks on life, and these are the stories that he told himself. And I question you today, if you're watching, what are the stories that you tell yourself because of the situations you grew up in? Because of what your family has gone through. All right. But he says all of these tied to poor self-esteem, poor self-image, and a lot of negative talk. Imagine, the conversations he has with himself, and this is all of us. The conversations we have with ourselves as we're approaching a new turn in life, but because of the stories we tell ourselves, we divert from the opportunities, right? And he says, I had to fix this. One of the things that my mentor Jim Franco did was give me a sales cassette tape to listen to. He prefaced it telling me that I was terrible at selling, which got me angry, and then told me the tape would help me, which got me interested. Jim Franco is his client, who he trained as a personal trainer, who was very successful, and helped him, by with tips as Bedros was training him in health and fitness. He'd also get ideas from Jim Franco, pick at his brain, and learn as much from about business as he could. All right, so I highlighted this part because it's so cool that Bedros Keuilian, self-improved. He says here that Franco gave him a cassette tape to listen to, and then told him, you're terrible at selling, which made him angry. And then told him again that this tape will help you. So Jim Franco, being a coach to him, identified a couple of things about him, made him upset, but then gave him a solution, which got me interested. And it's cool that he says that the tape led to other self-improvement tapes, books, and programs. And before I knew it, I was devouring the genre. All right, which I think is cool because our mentors, they always talk about the cassette tapes that they had to listen to self-improve, as opposed to what we have today, information just at our fingertips. It's so easy and quick for us today to self-improve. But back in the day, you had to, go and record this information, play it back, and you could only have limited information on a cassette tape. We're so blessed to have these the way we do now, which again is a reminder to you and I why we have this channel. This channel is about self-improving. This channel is about reading a book, about changing that process. Because a lot of us, when we talk about self-improvement, first of all, a lot of people don't self-improve, and those that do, they do it the quick and easy way, which is let's just play an audio while we work out. Let me tell you, you're not receiving as much information as you possibly could. Reading a book, I would say, is 10 times better, and more efficient as far as the information that you start to implement and you start to retain. Is 10 times more impactful than reading an audio, right? Or listening to an audio or watching a video. It's the quick and easy way today. We can just do it as we go, play it in our car, play it on the Bluetooth, play it on our headphones as we work out, as we're cooking. But reading, there's something about that. All right. So it says here, a little nugget here. It wasn't one of his big highlights, but these are my takeaways here. The tape led him to self-improvement tapes, books, and programs. And before you knew it, I was devouring the genre, which means he became a sponge to absorb all self-improvement out there. He became a self-improvement junkie, which I suggest to any of you if you want to make it to the next level in whatever you're doing in your business, if you're in your health, whatever areas you're trying to work at. Become a self-improvement junkie. And he says all of them at one point, I remember standing in the corner of the gym and jumping up and down, yelling, I like myself, I like myself, I like myself. So it was giving himself, it was saying mantras out there. Sure, it felt a bit foolish, but I also knew that I had decades of negative self-talk in my head. This is huge. I knew it was foolish, but I knew that I also had decades of negative self-talk in my head that operated like a virus. Wow. And I had to throw every cure I could find at it. That's huge for him to be able to identify it. Like I said earlier, a lot of us don't know how negative we are, how negatively wired we are. A lot of us don't realize how pessimistic we are as far as success, even for our own success. There's always that negative talk in our head. And he said, like you said earlier, you can't just, this is not going to be like a light switch where all of a sudden we're just positive. All of a sudden we just forget about the negative talk. All of that has been there. He said it's like a virus. It operated like a virus. It's decades of negative self talk. One book is not going to just reverse all of that. One audio is not going to just clean that up for you to where you automatically think the most positive, as positive as you can. But he said, it was foolish, but I also knew, right? So he's saying that he identified it, and I had to throw every cure I could find at it, right? So a nugget that I would give you is that uh, not just reading a book is going to cure it all for you. You got to read a book, but you also got to uh, do other things. You also got to, post things all over your wall, post things that remind you, that keep speaking to you, because every time you look at it, it's going to remind you. You got to put things all over the place to encourage you. You got to put things on your visor. Our coach, Martin Williams, he will put his dream car under his visor and look at it all the time. He will put a picture of his family on his dashboard so he can look at them and motivate them all the time. You gotta combat everything that's been instilled in you all these years, all that negative talk. If you had a parent who was very negative, like Bezos Coolian's dad was, and how my dad was, you have to be able to, in order for you to break out of it, you gotta put things all over the place to combat all that time that you've been receiving that negative information. And I had to throw every cure at it. I had just learned about the power of incantations from a Brian Tracy book that I never that I used, and I used it several times a day. I still do. I like myself. I like myself. I like myself. There wasn't any one thing that helped me. Oh, there you go. It wasn't just one thing that helped me. It was a whole batch of exercises that helped me to turn the negative self-talk and limiting belief systems into positive self-talk, beliefs, and habits. There you go. I'll read it again. It was a whole batch of exercises that helped me to turn negative self-talk and limiting belief systems into positive self-talks, beliefs, and habits. I even went into intense therapy after my massive anxiety attack. For almost 3 years, my therapist helped me work through a lot of issues from my childhood, things that I had. Things that had led to my depression and anxiety had roots in my childhood. And he says it wasn't enough to just try and mask over them with success. That is so true. You can't just cover it up. If you've been in a negative environment for so long, and you think you can just cover it up with a smile, that's not going to work. If you think you're going to cover it up with just a little bit of success, that's not going to work. Okay, we've seen people in business who came in and were negative, had wrong thinking, right? Very negative thinking. Okay, but because and then they get in business, right? And then there goes comments from our fans. I like myself nice, right? And so there's people that came into the business coming from a negative environment, and then they come in here, they find a little bit of success. That success is not proof of their change. That success is not proof that they've washed away all the negativity, the decades of negativity that they grew up with. Okay, that doesn't mean anything, right? All that means is that you turn over a few stones, you made a couple sales, you taking some baby steps, but that doesn't mean you changed, right? If you go to the gym, once or twice, and you come back, you're like, man, I feel good. That doesn't mean you got healthier. It's a process. You gotta, you're slowly turning the switch. How we covered earlier with Bezos Coolian said, it's not a light switch. It's more like a dimmer switch. Now you're in a better position. You're slowly turning that dimmer switch to get you where you need to be. Um, so he says here, a little success. It wasn't enough to try to mask. Uh, I'm sorry. It wasn't enough to just try to mask them with success. What I had to do was to um, get at the source of the problems, to do so with a professional and to deal with them. I tell you this not to say that you necessarily need therapy, because a lot of the stories in our lives that control our self-image and self-esteem have old and deep origins that can't be ignored until you process them through them. Listen, here's what I know to be true. All right. Let's see. Here's what I know to be true. We look at the world through the filters that we have on, and those filters have been shaped by your experiences from childhood on up. And if you think that trauma, no matter the form, mental abuse, physical abuse, or sexual abuse, is something that can simply manage and overcome without doing some serious deep work, then you're in for some big surprises. All right. That's huge. I should have highlighted that. Um, the stuff that we've dealt with, the good and the bad, especially the bad, has planted seeds in your life and your mind, your mindset. He talks about, whatever traumas you're facing, mental abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, is something you simply cannot just manage, but you have to overcome by doing some serious, deep work. And if you haven't done it, then you're in for a big surprise. This is a big part of manning up. It says here, getting rid of self-limiting beliefs through a process I call releasing the emergency brake. That's huge. When I first started to do the work on myself, I had to wrestle with the fact that a lot of what was in my head were negative statements about who I was. And he goes on listing the negative statements, right? And so these are the things that he had to wrestle with. It says I wasn't smart enough because I hadn't done well in school. He would say to himself, I was a bad provider because we seem to always be on the edge of bankruptcy. How many of you can relate? All right, just one check away from bankruptcy. I was never going to succeed at business because I hadn't succeeded in the past. Right? That's another thing too that people tell themselves all the time. Because for whatever reason, things haven't worked out so far, and so they're kind of limited in the way they think about their outlook now. I mean, about the outcomes now. It says here, uh, I was not a good leader or a manager uh, because I was introverted. Right, introverted. Being an introverted person does a lot of damage to you as far as becoming a successful person. It really does back on, right. And he says, until you take self control over your self limiting beliefs, they will manifest in many different areas of your life. For example, you might have a negative money mindset that set your parents negative money mindset that your parents put in your head. Perhaps they told you that money is bad, that money is for the rich, that uh, other people have success and we don't, right? That we are the working class and we will never be anything else. Maybe they told you that the rich have knowledge and opportunities that you simply don't have access to. I agree that I agree with you that it affects your business. That negative belief system um, is crippling. After all, your beliefs dictate your habits, and your habits dictate your actions, and your actions dictate your outcomes. The negative self-talk in your head and your heart that's been there for so long and it has got to change. Our childhood experiences, they shape us and they shackle us. You might know the feeling. There are other pains from the past that can keep us in a mental prison. You might have been on the receiving end of a cruel comment, or from a school teacher, from a family member, or other kids, or maybe you got regular beatings from your dad, or maybe you were sexually abused, or maybe you had parents who were addicts to drugs or anything else like that. This reminds me of a quote from I wanted to say it was The Purpose Driven Life, but then again, I don't remember seeing it there the last time I read that book. And it said that we are products of our past. but we are not prisoners of it. There's a lot of people that feel that they have to be a prisoner of the things that they've experienced or the things that their family has gone through. Not true. You got to break through that lie, right? That's a straight up lie. You are not a prisoner of your past. You are a product of it. If you change that, the way you look at things that way, you're gonna have a better outlook on life today. But he says, all those experiences that we've had as a childhood, it's shaping us and the way that we are today. It's shaping the way you think today. All these things led to big trauma that, when not processed or dealt with, can limit your personal and professional success, happiness, and growth. The same way, this is huge, the same way that a sports car can be neutered in performance when it's driving with the emergency brake slightly engaged. I love that. It says that the things that led to trauma, if it's not processed and dealt with, it can limit your personal and professional success, happiness, and growth. In the same manner that a sports car can be neutered, right? In performing when it's driven with the emergency brake slightly engaged. That is so huge. That's so huge. That means it doesn't matter how strong or how what you do now, if you don't handle any one of these these trauma events, that's like driving with the brakes on, right? As my coach says all the time. And it says driving with the emergency brakes on, that's bad. Even if you are a sports car that was designed for speed, designed to get things done, designed them to perform, you are neutered even with the emergency brake. That's so huge. Because of my trauma, I found a million reasons in my life, a million reasons to fail at things, sabotage my success because of that, right? And reduce the impact I was making. um, Looking back, I failed at things on purpose, because I chose to procrastinate. Procrastination was one of my bad habits. Sorry, I'm trying to pull something up here. Procrastination was one of my bad habits 10 years ago. Before I released the emergency brake, I'd have a good idea and then set it aside for the future and then never got around to doing it. All of these were stories, narratives I had told myself on, and I had to shed them because I needed to reduce the mental friction in my life. It's no different than when you lower the e-brake on your car and all of a sudden it performs the way it was designed to perform. You're clearing out the clutter in your mind, so you can make room for benefits, habits, and actions that will help you and not hold you back. You are going to do that at long last. You are going to do that by releasing the emergency brakes that have been holding you back. Awesome. So what it's a cool little beginning here in chapter 2. We're going to end it there. When we come back, the next video is going to be a short one. Well, actually, I can't say that, but we are going to cover the first 3 emergency brakes as he lists those in chapter 2. Looks like chapter 3 will carry the other 3. But the first emergency brakes, when we come back, is fear. Number 1 is fear. Number 2, poor management of time and energy. And see, number 3, assessing your team. Very good, very good. So that'll be a video probably later today, and we'll get on to chapter 3 after that. But thank you so much for being here. Remember, there are some exercises that are going to be coming up at the end of the chapter, and so that is going to be on the next video. Once again, please like and subscribe, support our channel, share this information, share this channel out there. People need to get back into reading, and if it's not for you, if you do you know want to do an audio, come over here and listen along, and we'll read the book and we'll throw in some nuggets from our experiences as well. If there's anything out there that you feel should have been highlighted, or anything that you just feel was impactful for you as we read through this book, I encourage you to share it. And just know that there's other ways of doing it. I want to share I don't have the flyer on me, but I just picked up a flyer as we went to Food for Less, and I believe it was First Corinthians. Um, yes, I should have picked up that flyer, but I love how it said at the end of that verse, it was saying that there was an excellent way, and that was the theme of their church, that there is a more excellent way, and I believe that very much so. I just want to share that, as this is a self improvement channel, and I want to let you know that the way that we live, the way that people usually live, it doesn't have to always be the case. That doesn't have to be the route that we take. There is a more excellent way. And I'm telling you right now, if we can pick up a book and manage to get through this and read through that book, there is a more excellent way of you living. There's a more excellent route for you to find success. There's a more excellent uh, vision out there, right? You don't have to do you don't have to do things the way people around you do it, the way your parents have done it. Because here's the thing: most people around you are operating on those limited beliefs, those same stories that Bedros Koulian was telling himself about. That because he's a foreigner, he's not going to make it. That he'd always trade his time for money. That he's a blue collar worker and he's going to stay a blue collar worker. That he's been a bad student, so he'll always be a bad student. That is not the case. Okay, if you were bad in there was a part of you that couldn't, you found it hard to succeed in. That um, we got some help over here. 1 Corinthians chapter 12 verse 31. There you go. Um, if there's an area that you struggled in, don't tell yourself that story that you will always struggle in it. Don't keep telling yourself that. There is a more excellent way of operating. There's a more excellent way for you to finally achieve that goal. All right, there's some things that I've been fighting hard to achieve, and I haven't done it. I failed at it once, twice, 5 times, but I'm gonna get back at it again. I'm not gonna tell my story. I'm not gonna let that be the last chapter in my story, and where it's always gonna end in failure. I'm going to finish on the right note. I will be successful. I will pass that test. I will finally lose the weight. I will finally be healthy. All right. And so you got to change it up. Don't keep telling yourself the same story. Identify it. If that's the first thing I think. In order for you to get better at it, you got to identify if you are telling yourself one of them stories, right? One of those stories. But eagerly desire the greater gifts, and now I will show you the most excellent way. That's awesome. All right. What else we got here? But covet earnestly the best gifts, and yet show I unto you a more excellent way. Amen. All right. Well, the Bible right there is giving you more confirmation on what we just learned in chapter 2. And brother, what a powerful chapter it was. Getting your shit straight. I know we just read a Bible verse, but it's all good. it's, uh, it's about getting better. It's about identifying what's holding us back. I pray you find whatever's holding you back, that you identify it, that you crush it, that you get it out of your life. And I pray that find the means to go and get that book. This right here, this is our book, man. That's what the cover looks like. Find it, get it. It's free. I don't know what else you need. What else you need from Banjo is giving you everything you need to be successful here. Let's get it done, guys. With that, um, look out for our video probably later today or tomorrow, and we'll see you the next time. Thanks, guys.